Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to be in Numbers chapter 36, verse 1, through Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 46. End of Numbers into Deuteronomy. Numbers. Then the heads of the family groups of the Gileadites, the descendant of Machir, the descendant of Manasseh, who were from the Josephite families, approached and spoke before Moses and the leaders who were the heads of the Israelite families. They said, "The Lord commanded my Lord to give the land as an inheritance by lot to the Israelites, and my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. Now if they should be married to one of the men from another Israelite tribe, their inheritance would be taken from the inheritance of our fathers and added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry. As a result, it will be taken from the lot of our inheritance. And when the Jubilee of the Israelites is to take place, their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry. So their inheritance will be taken away from the inheritance of our ancestral tribe." Then Moses gave a ruling to the Israelites by the word of the Lord. "What the tribe of the Josephites is saying is right. This is what the Lord has commanded for Zelophehad's daughters. Let them marry whomever they think best, only they must marry within the family of their father's tribe. In this way, the inheritance of the Israelites will not be transferred from tribe to tribe, but every one of the Israelites must retain the ancestral heritage. And every daughter who possesses an inheritance from any of the tribes of the Israelites must become the wife of a man from any family in her father's tribe, so that every Israelite may retain the inheritance of his fathers. No inheritance may pass from tribe to tribe, but every one of the tribes of the Israelites must retain its inheritance. As the Lord had commanded Moses, so the daughters of Zelophehad did. For the daughters of Zelophehad, Mahlah, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Noah, were married to the sons of their uncles. They were married into the families of the Manassites, the descendants of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of their father's family. These are the commandments and the decisions that the Lord commanded the Israelites through the authority of Moses on the plains of Moab by the Jordan River, opposite Jericho." Deuteronomy. This is what Moses said to the assembly of Israel in the Transjordanian wastelands, the arid country opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Dizahab. Now, it is ordinarily an 11-day journey from Horeb to Kadesh Barnea by way of Mount Seir. However, it was not until the first day of the 11th month of the 40th year that Moses addressed the Israelites, just as the Lord had instructed him to do so. This took place after the defeat of King Sihon of the Amorites, whose capital was in Heshbon, and King Og of Bashan, whose capital was in Ashtaroth, specifically in Edrei. So it was in the Transjordan and Moab that Moses began to deliver these words. "The Lord our God spoke to us at Horeb and said, 'You have stayed in the area of this mountain long enough. Get up now, resume your journey, heading for the Amorite hill country, to all its areas, including the arid country, the highlands, the Shephelah, the Negev, and the coastal plain, all of Canaan and Lebanon, as far as the great river, that is the Euphrates. Look, I have already given the land to you. Go occupy the territory that I, the Lord, promised to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to their descendants. I also said to you at that time, I am no longer able to sustain you by myself. The Lord your God has increased your population to the point that you are now as numerous as the very stars of the sky. Indeed, may the Lord, the God of your ancestors, make you 1,000 times more numerous than you are now, blessing you just as he said he would. But how can I alone bear up under the burden of your hardship and strife? Select wise and practical men, those known among your tribes, whom I may appoint as your leaders." You replied to me, "What I had said to you was good." So I chose as your tribal leaders wise and well-known men, placing them over you as administrators of groups of thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and also as other tribal officials. I further admonished your judges at the time that they should pay attention to issues among your fellow citizens and judge fairly, whether between one citizen and another, or a citizen and a resident foreigner. They must not discriminate in judgment, but hear the lowly and the great alike, nor should they be intimidated by human beings, for judgment belongs to God. If the matter being adjudicated is too difficult for them, they should bring it before me for a hearing. So I instructed you at that time regarding everything you should do. Then we left Horeb and passed through all that immense forbidding wilderness that you saw on the way to the Amorite hill country, as the Lord our God had commanded us to do, finally arriving at Kadesh Barnea. Then I said to you, you have come to Amorite hill country, which the Lord our God is about to give us. Look, he has placed the land in front of you. Go up, take possession of it, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, said to do. Do not be afraid or discouraged. So all of you approached me and said, Let's send some men ahead of us to scout out the land and bring us back word as to how we should attack it and what the cities are like there. I thought this was a good idea, so I sent 12 men from among you, one from each tribe. They left and went up to the hill country, coming to the Eshcol Valley, which they scouted out. Then they took some of the produce of the land and carried it back down to us. They also brought a report to us, saying, The land that the Lord our God is about to give us is good. You were not willing to go up, however, but instead rebelled against the Lord your God. You complained among yourselves privately, and said, Because the Lord hates us, he has brought us up from Egypt, to deliver us over to the Amorites, so that they could destroy us. What is going to happen to us? Our brothers have drained away our courage by describing the people, who are more numerous and taller than we are, in great cities whose defenses appear to be as high as heaven itself. Moreover, they said they saw the Anakites there. So I responded to you, Do not be terrified of them. The Lord your God is about to go ahead of you. He will fight for you, just as you saw him do in Egypt, and in the desert, where you saw him carrying you along, like a man carries his son. This he did everywhere you went, until you came to this very place. However, through all this you did not have confidence in the Lord your God, the one who was constantly going before you to find places for you to set up camp. He appeared by fire at night, and cloud by day, to show you the way you ought to go. When the Lord heard you, he became angry and made this vow, Not a single person of this evil generation will see the good land that I promised to give to your ancestors. The exception is Caleb, son of Jephunneh. He will see it, and I will give him and his descendants the territory on which he has walked, because he has wholeheartedly followed me. As for me, the Lord was also angry with me on your account. He said, You also will not be able to go there. However, Joshua son of Nun, your assistant, will go. Encourage him, because he will enable Israel to inherit the land. Also your infants, who you thought would die on the way, and your children, who as yet do not know good from bad, will go there. I will give them the land, and they will possess it. But as for you, turn back and head for the desert by the way to the Red Sea. Then you responded to me and admitted, We have sinned against the Lord. We will now go up and fight, as the Lord our God has told us to do. So you each put on your battle gear, and prepared to go up to the hill country. But the Lord told me, Tell them this, Do not go up and fight, because I will not be with you, and you will be defeated by your enemies. I spoke to you, but you did not listen. Instead, you rebelled against the Lord, and recklessly went up to the hill country. The Amorite inhabitants of that area confronted you and chased you like a swarm of bees, striking you down from Seir as far as Hormah. Then you came back and wept before the Lord, but he paid no attention to you whatsoever. Therefore you remained at Kadesh for a long time, indeed, for the full time. So, basically a high-level overview of what happened in the book of Numbers, I guess. And some of Exodus as well, I think. Yeah. It stood out to me this time in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 16 and 17, that these judges who were set up over the tribes of Israel were to pay attention to issues among their fellow citizens and judge fairly, whether between one citizen and another, or citizen and a resident foreigner. So, it was the law of the land that the resident foreigner had the same laws as the citizens. Also, that they must not discriminate in judgment, but hear the lowly and the great alike, which is, I think, good, because it's good to offer a fair judgment in regard to whatever issues arise. I feel like today, oftentimes when somebody is wronged by their brother, they use it as an excuse to cash in, so-called winning the lottery. And the judge ends up siding with the poor and giving them a very, very large sum of money, more so than is fair, I would say. Yeah, and I think the next part. Nor should they be intimidated by human beings, for judgment belongs to God. And I think that's a big one, to not fear men in your judgment. So, whatever that judgment may be. Luke 5:29 through 6, verse 11. Then Levi gave a great banquet in his house for Jesus, and there was a large crowd of tax collectors, and others sitting at the table with them. But the Pharisees and their experts in the law complained to his disciples, saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus answered them, "Those who are well don't need a physician, but those who are sick do. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." Then they said to him, "John's disciples frequently fast and pray, and so do the disciples of the Pharisees, but yours continue to eat and drink." So Jesus said to them, "You cannot make the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them, can you? But those days are coming, and when the bridegroom is taken from them, at that time they will fast." He also told them a parable. No one tears a patch from a new garment and sews it on an old garment. If he does, he will have torn the new, and the piece from the new will not match the old. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the new wine will burst the skins and will be spilled, and the skins will be destroyed. Instead, new wine must be poured into new wineskins. No one after drinking old wine wants the new, for he says, the old is good enough. Jesus was going through the grain fields on a Sabbath, and his disciples picked some heads of wheat, rubbed them in their hands, and ate them. But some of the Pharisees said, "Why are you doing what is against the law on the Sabbath?" Jesus answered them, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? How he entered the house of God, took and ate the sacred bread, which is not lawful for any to eat, but the priests alone, and gave it to his companions? Then he said to them, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." On another Sabbath, Jesus entered the synagogue and was teaching. Now a man was there whose right hand was withered. The experts in the law and the Pharisees watched Jesus closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath, so that they could find a reason to accuse him. But he knew their thoughts, and said to a man who had the withered hand, "Get up and stand here." So he rose and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, "I ask you, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath, or to do evil, to save a life, or to destroy it?" After looking around at them all, he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." The man did so, and his hand was restored. But they were filled with mindless rage and began debating with one another what they would do to Jesus. What an expressive term, mindless rage. Yeah. And I think the beginning of this chapter is just going on more about Jesus' concept that it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath, and that not that Gentiles are bound by Sabbath rules and regulations, but yeah. It seems like the Pharisees were often very concerned about following the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law. And I think that the spirit of the law was always love. But the law was insufficient to actually inspire good acts from it. But, yeah, so, but, yeah, just that. Carrying on, Psalm chapter 66, verses 1 through 20. Shout out praise to God, all the earth. Sing praises about the majesty of its reputation. Give him the honor he deserves. Say to God, how awesome are your deeds. Because of your great power, your enemies cower in fear before you. All the earth worships you and sings praises to you. They sing praises to your name. Selah. Come and witness God's exploits. His acts on behalf of people are awesome. He turned the sea into dry land. They passed through the river on foot. Let us rejoice in him there. He rules by his power forever. He watches the nations. Stubborn rebels should not exalt themselves. Selah. Praise our God, you nations. Loudly proclaim his praise. He preserves our lives and does not allow our feet to slip. For you, O God, tested us. You purified us like refined silver. You led us into a trap. You caused us to suffer. You allowed men to ride over our heads. We passed through fire and water, but you brought us into a wide open place. I will enter your temple with burnt sacrifices. I will fulfill the vows I made to you, which my lips uttered and my mouth spoke when I was in trouble. I will offer up to you fattened animals as burnt sacrifices, along with the smell of sacrificial rams. I will offer cattle and goats. Selah. Come, listen all you who are loyal to God. I will declare what he has done for me. I cried out to him for help and praised him with my tongue. If I had harbored sin in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. However, God heard. He listened to my prayer. God deserves praise, for he did not reject my prayer or abandon his love for me. Yep, pretty awesome. And finally, Proverbs chapter 11, verses 24 through 26. One person is generous, and yet grows more wealthy, but another withholds more than he should, and comes to poverty. A generous person will be enriched, and the one who provides water for others will himself be satisfied. People will curse the one who withholds grain, but they will praise the one who sells it. Yeah. And that's the so-called paradox of generosity. That despite giving more away, this person grows more wealthy. So I think that's an important concept, to be generous with what the Lord's given us, and to help people out, to love them like brothers, and to see them where they're at, and help them with what we have. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.